In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create a compelling anti-hero character in your comic, manga, or webtoon project. An anti-hero is a character who lacks the qualities found in a traditional hero. For example, an anti-hero may have malicious intentions or lack courage. Anti-heroes often embody behaviors you would expect to see in a villain character. What I mean by this is instead of being empathetic, kind-hearted, and brave, an anti-hero may be selfish, paranoid, and relentless. Examples of popular anti-hero characters include Light Yagami from Death Note, Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan, and Lelouch V. Britannia from Code Geass. Outside of anime, influential anti-hero characters include Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean, Han Solo from Star Wars, and Deadpool from Marvel Comics. Before we really dive into the complexities of creating a well-written anti-hero, let's first hear a word from today's sponsor.
This video is proudly brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of online classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity. Skillshare is the perfect place to get inspired, learn new skills, and put them to work in impactful ways.
You may know Skillshare for classes in photography, film, and video editing, and illustration, but did you know that Skillshare also has hundreds of career-focused classes too? The new year is the perfect time to reinvent your goals and yourself.
For my audience, I highly recommend you check out Skillshare's classes focused on creating comics and manga. There are so many great resources for improving your manga artwork and storytelling abilities.
Right now I am taking the class Draw Manga with Clip Studio Paint, Settings, Inking, and Essential Techniques by Naomosa Matsuda. Matsuda is a professional Japanese manga artist based in Kyoto. He has published several manga titles and judged several manga competitions. He is currently a lecturer for manga universities in Japan and France. In this class, I learned how Japanese manga artists use Clip Studio Paint to create professional manga. More specifically, Matsuda's class taught me how to set up my manga page files, choose the best brushes for inking, and bind keyboard shortcuts. What I love about this class is that Matsuda's lessons are very easy to understand. He is able to convey years of professional experience in an accessible way for beginner artists. If you are an aspiring comic artist, manga artist, or webtoon artist, then I highly recommend you check out the Skillshare class.
Skillshare is ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while you are exploring new skills. New premium classes launch every week, so there's always something new to discover on Skillshare. If English is not your first language, Skillshare's entire catalog is now available with subtitles in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my video description and pinned comment will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Take this opportunity to invest in yourself and your goals by becoming a Skillshare member today.
No goal is too small. Thinking about our future can be intimidating. Let's take the pressure off by starting small. Maybe you want to learn productivity tips to power more me time. Maybe the goal is to start building a personal brand style. Skillshare teachers will take us step by step.
Thank you again, Skillshare, for continuing to support the creative community. Now let's get back to the video.
An anti-hero is not a villain character. They are characters who lack all of the qualities needed to be a hero. Despite sharing similar characteristics with villains, anti-heroes ultimately give in to the goals and desires of a hero. Anti-heroes typically have flaws and disadvantages that make it difficult for them to succeed, but they persevere through their intelligence and determination. They often lack bravery, nobility, and virtue. Instead, they are usually defined by their aggression, cynicism, and other character imperfections. There are so many protagonist characters who always do the right thing for the right reasons. Think of characters like Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia, Naruto Uzumaki from Naruto, and Tanjiro Kamada from Demon Slayer. An anti-hero is morally gray, meaning they sometimes do the right thing and do it only sometimes for the right reasons. Anti-heroes are seen as more realistic than other types of heroes. This is because in real life, nobody is perfect. Readers sometimes find it easier to relate with anti-heroes because they embody this idea that no one is perfect. Characters who are too pure-hearted or heroic can come off as unrealistic and unable to exist in real life. In literature, anti-heroes are often used to explore ideas of what it means to be human. Popular themes in anti-hero stories include societal issues, mental health issues, and the darkness inside of all humans. Anti-heroes are a popular literary device that highlight how all humans have flaws. Their character arcs and character development show readers that you don't need to be perfect to be a hero in your own story, and that everyone has redeeming qualities. There are two kinds of anti-heroes. The first is anti-heroes who do the right thing but not for the right reasons. These types of anti-heroes often lack the characteristics we would expect to find in a traditional hero. Think of characters like Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist, Frieza from Dragon Ball Super, and Accelerator from a certain magical index. The second type is anti-heroes who do the wrong thing, but their motives are often sympathetic. These types of anti-heroes often lack characteristics we would expect to find in bad guys. Think of characters like Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto, and Stain from My Hero Academia. It is important to think about whose point of view your story is told from. If the character with these traits is the protagonist in your story, then they are considered an anti-hero. If this type of character with these traits plays the role of an antagonist, then they are called an anti-villain. For example, in The Dark Knight, Batman is the protagonist while the Joker Joker is the antagonist. However, in the movie Joker, the Joker is the antihero because the story is told through his eyes. The first type of antihero is called the classic antihero. A standard hero character can be defined by their confidence, bravery, good looks, intelligence, and fighting capabilities. The classic antihero is the opposite of all of these traits. This type of antihero could be self-doubting, fearful, anxious, and weak. Stories featuring this type of antihero tend to revolve around them overcoming this weakness to resolve the main conflict. An example of a classic antihero is Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit. He is a 50-year-old man who hates adventures. During his journey, he discovers his inner courage, allowing him to become more self-assured. The second type of antihero is the knight in sour armor. This type of antihero tends to be morally good. They are able to tell right from wrong, but are often cynical and don't feel that they can make a real difference in the world. The knight in sour armor is also known as the reluctant hero. They usually don't feel any urgency to join the fight against the villain. Instead, they would rather continue doing their own thing. These types of characters will eventually join the fight, but only when they feel like they have something to gain by helping out. An example of a knight in sour armor is Han Solo from Star Wars. He is a bounty hunter who is only motivated by his greed. The only reason he agrees to help free Princess Leia is because Luke Skywalker promises him a big reward. When Han Solo felt that the Rebel Alliance was doomed, he refused to stay and help in the fight against the Death Star. He eventually has a change of heart and returns just in time to change the tide of the battle. The third type of antihero is the pragmatic antihero. This type of antihero is darker than the knight in sour armor. A pragmatic antihero is more ready to spring into action if they observe any wrongdoings. However, they are also more willing to do morally bad things in order to achieve their goals. An example of a pragmatic antihero is Accelerator from A Certain Magical Index. Accelerator believes that people will get what they deserve. He can be unsympathetic and unwilling to show mercy. While Accelerator behaves selfishly and betrays the main characters, he ultimately steps up to help defeat the main antagonist towards the end of the story. The next type of antihero is the unscrupulous antihero. This type of character is often extremely cynical. Their drive to do good is often skewed by past trauma and their thirst for vengeance. They generally end up taking down a despicable villain who the reader agrees had it coming. Instead of bringing this villain to justice with as little blood on their hands as possible, the unscrupulous antihero can become vicious and show no mercy. Sometimes these characters even enjoy the acts of violence they commit. An example of an unscrupulous antihero is Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto. Sasuke pursues a path of vengeance in order to kill his older brother, who is responsible for the murder of his entire clan. Sasuke is willing to betray his friends and murder anyone who stands in his way. When Sasuke learns that Danzo played a part in the Uchiha clan's massacre, he takes it upon himself to take him out. To the reader, Danzo was already portrayed as an antagonistic character that needed to be handled. However, many people probably didn't expect Sasuke to be the one to do it. Sasuke infiltrated the Kage Summit and was prepared to kill any national leader who stood in his way. Towards the end of the series, Sasuke finally has a change of heart and returns to the side of good. He even helps the main characters defeat the final villain. The final type of antihero is the hero in name only. This type of antihero fights on the good side, but their motives and values are definitely not good. They might be emotionless or sinister, but they are often not as bad as the main villain. Antiheroes like this can be considered the villain of the story if it was not told from their perspective. An example of a hero in name only is Walter White from Breaking Bad. For most of the series, Walter tells himself that his criminal activities are only to provide for his family. The bigger motivation behind Walter's actions is his need to rebel against his own mortality. With death looming, his moral boundaries shatter. If Breaking Bad had been told from the viewpoint of Hank or Skyler, you could easily see Walter as the antagonist in the series. The first tip for writing an antihero character is to create a complex main character. Think about how you would write a traditional hero and then give your antihero the exact opposite characteristics. If a hero is an idealist, then your antihero should be a cynic. Make your antihero slightly mysterious and more of their characters revealed bit by bit as the story progresses. A great antihero has flaws just like a real person. Despite this, you should highlight a few of their redeeming qualities. Just because an antihero has villainous traits, at the end of the day they still are a type of hero. Tip number 2 is to create internal conflict. Your antihero should have an internal struggle that drives their actions. Think about what events or experiences are the source of their outlook on life. There has to be a reason your antihero turned out the way that they did. As you write, slowly reveal your antihero's backstory to show your reader how they became the person that they are today. Tip number 3, don't confuse your antihero with the antagonist. For antiheroes with misguided morals, the ends justify the means. Antiheroes should be able to explain away the bad things that they do, as the result is ultimately good. When creating an antihero, it is important to remember that they are never as evil as the main antagonist in your story. Tip number 4 is going to be showing different sides of your antihero. By using foil characters and supporting characters, you can highlight the vulnerabilities and flaws of your antihero. You need to let your reader sympathize with the antihero despite their questionable actions. It is very important to highlight these redeeming qualities. Tip number 5, establish a clear moral compass. The best antiheroes are those who can tell the difference between right and wrong. An antihero should have a clear set of values and lines that they won't cross. For example, Batman is an iconic antihero who saves the day with unconventional methods. In some instances, he will work with the police or other superheroes. Other times, he will take matters into his own hands. Unlike the traditional superhero, Batman has a rough demeanor and comes from a wealthy background. Despite his many character flaws, he lives by a moral code. He never kills people. The antihero in your story should have a moral compass that leads him to do what is right about 90% of the time. Remember, at the end of the day, it's an antihero's job to help make the world a better place. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you were able to get some value out of it. If you did, please leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below telling us who your favorite antihero character is. I will be responding to every comment in today's video. You can help support me by following me on all of my social media accounts. I post all of my finished illustrations and manga artwork on Instagram and Twitter. As always, keep creating, everyone. I will see you all in the next one.